So I met Jeremy when I was 21, and it was absolutely unaccepted by my family. He was MUZUNGU, he was older than me, he was divorced, he had 3 children. I mean, he was on paper everything that could be wrong.
By older, how much older?
19 years older than me. Yeah, I was 21, he was 40.
I object also. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. No, it was like, people were shocked. But I fell in love with him. I was disowned by my family for 12 years here in Kenya.
No.
So I lived in the UK, yeah. And I talk about that. I talk about the depression I went through, the suicidal ideation, but then finding strength in our relationship. And it was a very, very strong relationship.
Thank God.
Yeah, because I left my family for him, effectively. Then he was diagnosed with cancer, and 2 years after he was diagnosed, he passed away.
This is a new meeting point for people all over the world to gather for healing and ultimate wellness through the solutions provided in our conversations. Welcome to Wellness with Lilly. Our guest today is no stranger to us. She was here recently teaching us about trauma release. She is a wholeness healer and also a best-selling author. Her books are very interesting because she talks about her love life and the ups and downs of her love life since she lost her husband. But before we begin, I would like to ask you and welcome you, first of all.
Thank you. It's great to be back. I feel like there was so much more to talk about last time.
Yes, right? Always that feeling.
Yeah.
But I think that's one sign of a really good conversation, that you don't want it to end.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I always have a lot to say. So
that's good. That's good for all of us. You're interesting to listen to. Let's go into your books. So this is a memoir of your late husband.
That was my first book, and it was a memoir about our lives together. So I met Jeremy when I was 21, and it was absolutely unaccepted by my family. He was MUZUNGU, he was older than me, he was divorced, he had 3 children. I mean, he was on paper everything that could be wrong.
By older, how much older?
19 years older than me. Yeah, I was 21, he was 40.
I object also. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. No, it was like, people were shocked. But I fell in love with him. And I was disowned by my family for 12 years here in Kenya.
No.
So I lived in the UK, yeah. And I talk about that. I talk about the depression I went through, the suicidal ideation, but then finding strength in our relationship. And it was a very, very strong relationship.
Thank God.
Yeah, because I left my family for him, effectively. And then in 2014, we had a really good life together in the UK, really, really good.
Did you raise his children?
No, so he was divorced when I met him, and his children were being raised by his ex-wife, but he would see them. We lived in the same town. We moved in together very quickly. I didn't marry him to begin with. We were together for 17 years, and then he was diagnosed with cancer. And then we got married soon after that, because in UK, there's no such thing as common law wife. So had he died, I would have had no say over his funeral, over his body, over anything. So we got married, but so we knew we didn't want kids together. It's one of the reasons I was attracted to him, the fact he had already had children, because I had decided at 16 I didn't want children. And yeah, so...
Whoa. I feel like you're giving us so many, I don't know what.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I definitely broke a lot of rules that was expected of me. I was expected to get married, I was expected to have children, I was expected to come back and run the family business. But I already knew I didn't want to do any of those things.
By 16, are you even old enough to know such a critical thing?
Yeah, I think by 16 I knew I didn't want to have children. And then when I met Jeremy, I knew that he even like he proposed to me within 6 months of, I think actually a month into our relationship, he said, marry me, and gave me the ring. And I said, I've got the ring now. I'm not going to marry you, but I've got the ring, and I've got you. And that's the main thing. And yeah, we didn't want, the fact that he didn't want children was great for me. He was worried I would want children one day, but I never did. Then he was diagnosed with cancer, and 2 years after he was diagnosed, he passed away, by which time we were married. But it was more the legal reasons we got married, if I'm honest, because in my heart we were married. In our heart, I was fully committed to him emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually. He was definitely my soulmate, my twin flame, I call him. So his death was devastating, and that's what I write about in that first book. That kind of that whole journey.
Yeah. You can tell us about what then happened after he passed on, in terms of the grief, the trauma. Had you started your healer journey? And I'm asking that because you already had trauma from being rejected. I mean,
Yeah.
full-blown
Yeah.
disowned by your family. So now this happened.
Our trauma begins at birth. Think about when we're like come into the world. A baby doesn't come out laughing. They come out traumatized and crying. So that's when our trauma begins. So, and then we have trauma as children, perhaps in school with bullying. So there's trauma upon trauma. The trauma that I had whilst I was with Jeremy was definitely the family. I was separated from them. But perhaps my biggest trauma ever in my whole life has been his death, because I expected to grow old with him. We had plans to come and live in Nanyuki. We'd bought a piece of land there. He loved Kenya. So we definitely wanted to come and retire here. So his death was traumatic. And I write about it quite openly in my book. I went into a very dark place. Grieved him terribly for a year. I abused painkillers and alcohol. I had already planned how I was going to kill myself, so I knew that this was how I was going to take my life. I put all my affairs in order. I put all his affairs in order. I cleaned the house. I was ready to leave. And then I decided I wanted to write this book so that people could hear our story. There was some kind of legacy. So there were two things I did. One was I set up the Jeremy Lucas Education Fund under my sister's. She's a conservationist in Samburu. So we support 16 children, in fact more now, 20 I think, children from Samburu and Isiolo through secondary school, tertiary education, and on to, once they get a job, then our responsibility is over. And
well done.
Yeah, so that's in his memory because he loved Samburu. So and it was a way to give back. And then I wrote this book, and as I wrote this book, I began to heal, because as you write your story, it's a very cathartic thing. And then just as I finished writing this book, my father passed away from cancer, by which time we had reconciled. We had reconciled after 12 years of being estranged. Yeah. So, and him and Jeremy actually became good friends.
Wow.
So at my father's funeral, I had this vision of Jeremy and my father being up somewhere, and they were drinking a Tusker beer. Random, very random. And I was still at this point trying to take my life. I was abusing my body with alcohol and drugs and stuff. And I had this vision of them together, and they had both had cancer. They had both fought the cancer as hard as they could, but the cancer still got them. And I was like, I'm only early 40s. I'm young. I have life. I want to live. And so my aha moment came at my father's funeral, and I decided I wanted to live again. And so that kind of was that first book. And I published it in July of 2018. And in October of 2018, on what would have been Jeremy's birthday, it became an Amazon bestseller. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm very happy with that.
So good.
Yeah.
I don't know why I feel like throwing this in. You guys seem to have been wealthy. You made good money while you were together.
We weren't wealthy, but we were comfortable. He worked in Barclays Bank for a while, then he was a finance manager and a general manager at a golf club. I ran my own company, Just Joom, which was a dance fitness company. And I ran that for many years. And I trained about 300 instructors in my style of dancing. So we were comfortable, very grateful, nothing to complain about. Wow. So yeah.
I say that because if you're able to support children, then that must mean that you had...
Yeah, so we supported, after he died, is when I gave the money through. Some of the money came through from his life insurance that I just felt like I didn't want to keep it. It was something, and I didn't get a lot from it. Most of it went to that charity. So yeah.
Okay, that's very good. This is what I want to zero in on, the online dating at 40. You wrote this book. You can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so after my father's funeral, I was here for it because my father was born and brought up and lived here. So I was here at the funeral. And then I went back to the UK, and in about April, I was like, I really feel like I need companionship. I want to go out on a date. I need a man in my life to make me happy.
Yeah.
Women are so silly sometimes, I tell you. We think that we need a man in our lives. But anyway, I was like, yeah, I want... Basically, I had met Jeremy when I was 21, and he gave me so much happiness that I thought that having a relationship with somebody else was going to make me happy. So I decided to look for that. But also, and I don't know how honest I can be here, but I just actually wanted to have a physical relationship with somebody.
Okay.
There's a thing called widow's fire.
You can be 100% open. What did you want to say?
Yeah. So there's a thing called widow's fire. I've talked about this before on social media, where it's a well-known thing that when a woman's husband passes away, and after a certain time, they just have this urge to have sex, and it's called widow's fire. It's like a fire burning in you.
Is there also divorcee fire?
There might be. Did you have this?
Yeah, I did, and I wasn't sure if it's because, of my age or post-delivery. There's all sorts of myths.
Yeah. So I don't know the facts and the science behind it, but they must be, because let's face it, women have needs as well. We say this, right? Women have needs. Men are not the only sexual creatures.
Exactly.
Women also have, as long as we understand our sexuality and understand that we're sexual beings as well. So I definitely wanted that. So I decided I was going to jump right in. For those of people who know me, I don't do one thing like pole. I'm like, I jump in, both feet, all in. So I signed up to something like 6 dating websites, and I spoke to about 50 guys online, and I actually went out on dates with 21 of them. I did not sleep with all of them. I just want to clear that. Dating and sleeping together, very different.
Is there a reason why you feel you need to say that?
Yeah, because there was recently an article. I was interviewed on one of the radio stations here in Nairobi, and immediately a well-known sensationalist online media house picked it up, and they were like, because at the time I was a Capital FM presenter as well. Capital FM presenter sleeps with so many men or whatever, and I'm like, hello, get your facts right. Dating and sleeping with a man are 2 very different things. Okay. Dating could be going for a coffee. Yeah. Yeah, sleeping could be, I
think the word dating is vague now.
Yeah.
No one knows what it means.
So for me, dating means chatting online, and then dating means a face-to-face for me. That's my definition of it. And dating was, I like, there was one guy I had coffee with, and I was like, I never want to see this guy again. I couldn't leave fast enough.
Why?
Because he was just, I don't know, I can't say.
No, please say.
There was, you have to read my book. But he was so boring that everything he said, I was like, hiya, I just want to go home now. There's something on TV that I'd rather watch than listen to this guy. So there was some really, I call it the knobheads, nut jobs, and nice guys, right? Because that's what I had. There were a lot of crazy people out there. Yeah. And then having sex with somebody is different to a date, I think, right? So a date is you take me out for a date, we go out for dinner. Not take me out, I used to pay as well. We went Dutch or whatever.
How would you decide what to do? Was it your initiative or the guy's initiative?
So more often than not, if I didn't like the guy and I didn't want to see him again, I would pay. Because I didn't want the obligation. Yeah. If I knew I liked him and I wanted, then either he would pay, we'd go Dutch. If we had a date more than twice, often we'd go Dutch or we'd take turns. So it was just kind of like an understanding I had.
That's very considerate of you.
Yeah, but also there was, there was definitely, if I didn't want to see the guy again, normally I'd pay because I was like, okay, I'm done with this guy and I don't want to have the obligation of another date. So yeah, I dated 21 of them. I write about some of them in the book. some of them were real weirdos. Some people were literally crazy.
Tell me about the crazy ones. Can you share one or two with us?
So just like the stuff they wanted to engage in or would talk about before we even had talked about sex. So I was very uncomfortable with certain things. There was this one guy who was particularly like, I don't know what happens in Kenya, but in the UK, there's a lot of things like they send you dick pics and stuff like that. So that's kind of stuff it puts me off. Let me tell you guys, no woman wants a dick pic. It's just the grossest thing you will ever get.
Why do they do it?
Please don't send them. Please, just use your common sense.
Why do they do it?
Also, I don't know, man.
Maybe they think it will arouse her.
It really doesn't. I'm like, what is that? It's just disgusting. What are you doing? So, yeah, I don't understand. I actually don't understand. So, yeah.
Or maybe they want you to send your pic of
girls, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't send you don't know. The internet does not forget.
Yeah.
And if you don't know this guy or you think you're in love with him, even if you're married to him, please don't send photos of your body parts because you don't know where they're going to end. Because you don't know if that relationship's going to end. Please don't do it. The biggest thing I would say about online dating and dating of
maybe
any
it's
kind,
a sexual fetish for some people.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is with men. I don't know what it is. They think they think they're gonna arouse women. I really don't know the psychology behind it because it's just stupid. Here's the thing, right? I think that there was one person I felt uncomfortable and almost in danger, and that's when I left the situation. And so this is what I'm going to say to women who are dating and men, because it can happen the other way. Be safe. Be safe. Be safe in terms of physically safe. If you're going to have sex, and sexually active, be safe. Use precautions.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot out there.
Yeah.
So, but I had fun. I had a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Until it wasn't fun anymore. Sort of 7 months in, I was like, I'm so done with men, because I was looking for happiness in a man, and at the beginning was fun, and I was happy, and I was going out on dates, and we're going to the cinema, and we're laughing, and I was having sex and whatever, and then it just became a little bit of, oh man, another date, and I don't want to do this. And I actually fell for a guy who was completely, in hindsight, wrong for me. He was younger than me, and he just one day said, I'm done. I don't want to see you again.
Oh, he said that?
Yeah, and I was like, hey, okay. So I was like, no, please stay with me, and then he's like, no, I'm done. And then he left. And I was like, what am I doing? Asking him to stay with me. I'm better than this. And so I decided to stop dating. And I decided to start working on myself because I knew there was something in me that was lacking. Why was I looking for happiness in someone else? Yeah. I truly believe happiness comes from within. Yeah. And so, yeah, that was my online dating. Yeah. I have to tell you this one story. I've told it before on Engage, but I'll tell you this because it always sticks in my mind. There was this guy. I'll call him Dan because that was his name.
Oh, okay.
I'm just calling him. You don't know his surname. It's okay. But I call him Unreliable Fish in the book, right? Because we were talking for ages, and oh my God, he had the sexiest voice on the phone. So I was like, I'm ready for this guy. So cool. But he canceled on me 4 times. Oh. 4 times. And I let him cancel.
Dan.
Yeah.
Dan.
No, I'm going to tell the story now. It doesn't matter. Because 4 times, but I let him because I was very new to dating. As I got better, as I got more, like, I would, if somebody canceled once on me, I was like, I'm done with you. But this guy, I let him cancel on me 4 times. Anyway, then one day he's like, I'm coming to your house. And I was like, okay. Oh. And it was okay. I felt safe. It was fine. And I said, but
still, that's a cheapskate move.
Yeah, exactly, right? So then I was like, okay, but I live far in the Bundus, right? I was like in a village. And he said, it's okay. I'm going to drive.
Where did you live?
In Surrey, like really outside London.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's in London. And I was like, it's going to take you a while. No, it's okay. I'll drive in my car. And then on the way, he's like, hey, you live far. And I'm like, yeah, I told you. Stop complaining. Anyway, he comes, he drives up to the house, and he gets out of the car, and oh my God, Lily, if I told you his photographs on whatever website were so beautiful. He looked lovely, and I thought he was, I'm short, but I thought he was. Anyway, he got out of the car, and he's like, really, and I don't want to sound like a horrible cow,
Don't say it.
but his photos were at least 10 years old. He was a musée. And he was a big musée, and he was short. And I'm like, what is going on here?
Was he shorter than you?
No, thankfully not. I mean, if you're shorter than me, then, we have a real problem. But he was short.
That's not fair.
And when I say musée, he wasn't a musée. He was still younger than me, but he was older than the photographs, right? So I'm like, what is going on?
But not well put together.
No, like he was wearing this horrible tweed jacket, and I'm just like, and he said he was a lawyer. And let me tell you, have you seen Suits?
Mm-hmm.
In my eyes, when you say lawyer, I'm thinking Harvey.
But
right?
Suits lied to us. I later found out that Suits lied to us.
Why?
It makes lawyers look like they're going to be very polished people.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was like, Harvey's coming home. There was no Harvey, man.
I'm so sorry.
It was more like, you remember Lewis? It was more like Lewis. But I was like, okay, Lewis has come home. Anyway, so he came in. I was really polite. I was like, okay, he's actually really intelligent. He's a nice guy. He speaks about philosophy and spirituality. Okay, so I was really enjoying the conversation.
That's a relief.
So it was a relief. Anyway, on the phone, he had said to me, I've only had 2 or 3 girlfriends, but both my girlfriends say I'm a really good kisser. Oh. So I was like, okay.
Promising?
So this is promising. He's intelligent, not the most good looking, but I'm going to go for it anyway. So he comes in to kiss me, and it was like kissing what I would imagine is like kissing a fish.
Oh no.
It was disgusting.
Oh no.
And I was like, okay, so he doesn't. So that's why I call him the unreliable fish, because he was unreliable and he kissed like a fish. And those are kind of like the stories I had.
Yeah. And now he's come all this way, so you kind of have to entertain.
Yeah. We went out for dinner, and then.
Did you take him out for dinner?
I paid.
You were good.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, I was done. But yeah, those are the kind of stories I had. And I used to have a little notebook, because after the first date, I was like, oh my gosh, this is really interesting. So I'd write down what I wore at the date and stuff. So I'd make sure I didn't wear the same thing twice at each date.
You had a log.
I had a log. But then I started writing little things about them. And that became kind of my research and development for the book.
Oh, wow.
So when I look back on my notes, I was like, wow, there's enough here for a book.
Yeah.
So I sat and wrote the book, and yeah, it got published.
That is beautiful. I mean, that is so comical. You can do a sitcom on that.
Yeah.
I wanted us to talk about some of the lessons that you learned. Of course, the biggest being that happiness is, it does not come from relationships. But maybe you can talk to us about why do we feel like we need to be in a relationship? Why is you being my friend not enough?
Yeah. So, okay, look, we're hardwired. And actually, in my book, Happiness, Is It Simply a Mindset Shift? I talk about 10 different techniques. And one technique is connection. Mm-hmm. As human beings, we're hardwired to connect. We're also hardwired to procreate, right? That we're seen to have sex, to produce, to produce children. This connection for us is key. It's connection with family, friends, but also when it comes to a relationship, we are sexual beings. We like to be touched, right? So sex is not just about being in love, which absolutely, if you're in love, then sex is a different thing. Mm-hmm. But also as human beings, we want to have some kind of, think about when somebody's sad, we will give them a hug. So that tactile aspect of touch is very important. Yes. So we feel, and as a woman, for me, I feel that I want somebody in my life to share with. I want somebody in my life to have sex from a place of love, not lust, which was what I was having with these men, right? Yeah. So with Jeremy, it was very much about love. and with my current partner, I'm absolutely in love with him. And sex is different. It's just different. There's a sense of wanting to share our lives with somebody.
Yeah.
And I know, having been in a marriage for 19 years or in a relationship for 19 years, just being able to share the ups and downs of your life. And I know that when Jeremy died, the one thing I would sit there in the lounge and I would see the car headlights coming up for the neighbors, and my heart would lift. I'd be like, oh, it's Jeremy, even though I knew he was dead. Because I wanted him to be in my life so much. And there was a time, I remember, I'll never forget this. It was actually the last time I'd gone to Birmingham, which is up north in the UK, in the Midlands. And I was coming back, and I'd gone by train. And I was coming back, and Jeremy would always pick me up from the train station. And he wouldn't wait in the car. He would always get out of the car and wait for me at the barriers. And he didn't have to do that, but that was just the thing he did. And I remember as I came out of the train and I saw him at the barriers, my thought was, I'm home.
Wow.
He is my home.
Yes.
So it didn't matter where we were, he was my home. And that feeling, to have that with somebody, is really, I can't explain it. It's inexplicable. It's something that I hankered for. And so when he died, I lost my home. I still had the house, but I lost my home.
Yes.
When I met my current partner, who I met in 2019, after I stopped dating, I wrote this book, To Look for Happiness, and I actually found happiness within using these 10 techniques. And I decided I didn't want to live in the UK anymore. So I packed up my things.
Why not?
And I didn't want to live in that same, we were always in that house as Jeremy and Shalini. And now it was just Shalini. And I was like, it's time to move on. I wanted to travel the world. So I packed up the house, I rented it out, and I came to Kenya to see my mom and my sister and my extended family. And I just happened to be at an event, and my current partner walked in. And we had known each other as children. And so we reconnected. And and I was like, but I'm still traveling the world. On the 2nd of April, 2020, I'm leaving Kenya and I'm going back to the UK, picking my car and going to Tuscany. I've already booked. I want to meet a nice Italian man and learn Italian and drink a lot of Chianti wine. But then I met my current partner, and I was like, I'm still getting on that plane. And then COVID happened.
Oh.
So I had to stay. So he always says to me, you would have never got on that plane. And I always say to him, yes, I would have got on that plane. And
now
he
we'll
said,
never know.
Yeah, now we'll never know. Exactly. But for me now, he has become home.
Wow.
And so what I get from him, I can't get from a friend. And I'm not just talking on a sexual level. I'm talking from a connection level, from an understanding level, from being able to tell him stuff that I don't want to tell anyone else, because I know he'll hold space for me. Friends can hold space, but a partner who really gets you and understands you and is your other half holds space in a very different way. And for me, having got that the second time now, I just feel that I need that in my life.
I get you, but I find that, first of all, I find you've been lucky.
Yeah. I am.
But I'm wondering, did you ever find home within yourself, really? Because then it looks like
Home is
Jeremy
somebody else.
was home, and then now your partner is home.
It's a really good question. I think I did for those 2 years or so when I was like, I'm done, I'm happy, I got on with it. But and absolutely, I went from a place of loneliness when Jeremy died to a place of solitude where I could be happy on my own. And I still can be happy on my own. Like I can be in a Nuki for 10 days on my own and not feel lonely, but be alone. It's very different, right? That loneliness and solitude. So absolutely, I think I did find it. But it's a different kind of home when it's with somebody else. It's something you both bring to the relationship. And I can absolutely be on my own, as can he.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He's also been alone for many years.
Yeah.
But we can be in the same house alone or in two different places alone. But that being together in unity in one space is just different.
Yeah.
And I think we have found home in each other.
Yeah.
But I think that's because we're both very okay alone.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
That we don't need each other on that neediness.
I hear you.
Right? We're our own people.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it works. And that was true for Jeremy as well, because he'd been divorced a year when I met him. I was young at university, not even looking.
Yeah.
That's when it happens. When two people's energy are at the same. What happens a lot of the time is, say a man's energy is here and they're not looking, and a woman is desperate to find somebody. You might come to at some point there might be that connection, but if you can't keep that, and it's a place you're coming to it from a place of desperation, it's not going to work, because he will then move on and you can't keep up. The energy of the man and the woman has to be matching. But what happens is, as I grow, I'll pull up Amar, my partner Amar, and then as he grows, he pulls me up. That's a good relationship.
Wow. Yes. In my post-divorce singlehood, and I find it such an important time of my life, because I've done a lot of healing that I had never previously been forced to do. Now it felt like heal or die.
Absolutely. That's how I felt when Jeremy died.
Yeah.
I was like, I had to do the work.
Yeah.
Because I had a lot of trauma still from being estranged and stuff. I had to do the work, and I'm still doing the work. Hey, let me tell you, this healing is a lifelong process. I still get triggered, and I'll watch something about cancer on TV and I'm like bawling, because it sits in your body. It's constant. You're constantly working it out.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the most profound things I've come across is that it's possible to have a romantic attraction with someone, but that doesn't mean it must evolve into a sexual relationship.
Yeah.
And I found that I can redirect the energy into another engagement, like work, a project we're doing together, client service provider relationship.
So just clarify. So you've got a romantic relationship, but there's no physical intimacy.
No, a romantic attraction.
Okay.
But we are not engaging romantically.
Physically. Or you're not engaging romantically.
Romantically.
Okay.
And I say this because when I was married, if I had romantic attraction to a married person, I would flee.
Yeah.
Not even think about it.
Yeah.
Don't even talk about it. But in my journey now, first of all, my relationship with my therapist, who I will be interviewing soon, was very new to me, because at one point he said, "I love you, Lilly." And I was like, oh my God, you're married. You can't say that. Don't say that. But he said, no, it's not romantic. It's not
love.
like that. Yeah. And it was so new to me, because I had grown up being conditioned, or just that if you hear the words "I love you" from a man, it's now you're on the expressway to sex.
Yeah, because let's face it, a lot of men will say "I love you" to a woman to get her into bed.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we've been conditioned, right?
Yeah.
So, and also, I don't know about you, but we never grew up being told "I love you" by our parents.
Yeah.
So,
Me neither.
yeah, I think the first person who said "I love you" to me was Jeremy. So that's why we may be associated with what we consider romantic relationships or sexual relations. No, men will. And look, I slept with men that I did not love. It was lust. It's very different.
Yeah.
But men will sometimes say, "I love you," just to get you into bed. So we have a lot of nonsense around that, and a lot of conditioning around that. But here's the thing, right? We have many emotions, but I look at 5 basic emotions: fear, happiness or joy, sadness, and anger. And then, but the overriding emotion of everything is love.
Yes.
Okay? And love is, I can love somebody I'm not romantically I can love a friend, and he could be a male friend, and I could love him. Sometimes that gets muddied with what am I feeling romantically, sexually to a person. So I think you have to be really clear, what is this person to me? Is he a friend? Is he a platonic friend? Or am I going to engage with this romantically, and then does that lead to sexual? Sometimes a romantic relationship does not lead to sex, but then I would question whether that is a romantic. Because for me, being in a relationship with another, it's not just about emotional connection. It's not just about mental connection or spiritual connection. For me, the physical is very important. I don't think we talk about that enough in our cultures, whether that's the African culture or the Indian or Asian cultures, because we have been conditioned not to talk about sex. And we've been conditioned not to ask questions about sex. I don't know if you guys watch Bollywood films. Maybe now some people do watch Bollywood films. But as a child, we used to watch these Bollywood films. And every time a man and woman went to kiss, they would fade out to two flowers. Two flowers, like just touching. That's how stupid it was. Or if you knew a guy and a girl were dancing, Bollywood films full of dancing, and then they end up, and you could see they went behind the bush, and then the bush would move.
Yeah, that's sex. That's love making.
But you're not shown any of that. It's just, it's kind of.
Do you want them to show it? Where are you going with this?
What I'm saying is that's what I thought sex was, to when you kiss two flowers coming together. We never saw it. But now you turn on Netflix, anytime you can see sex, people kissing, etc. I think that we didn't even know what it meant to be in a sexual relationship. I would never tell my mother that I was having sex. I think she still thinks I'm a virgin, right? Because we're not allowed to talk about it. So the question then becomes, how do we know what to do and how to do it, and what's okay and what's not okay? How do we know that the man is treating us well? How does the man know how to treat us if we're not having these conversations?
I think even how do we know what we want away from, because now there's influx of information. I think that now we jumped from one extreme of no information.
From flowers kissing to nothing, to social media, but also now there's an issue, right? There's a lot of porn. It's very accessible. It's very available. So now this next generation is, their point of reference is porn. Porn often is about objectifying women. It's about maybe subduing them. It's about overpowering them. So these are the kind of things our young people are seeing. And so they don't, and then we're not talking about it. We're not saying, that's not what a loving relationship is about. And look, I'm not saying that every relationship when I had sex with some of the men I dated, I was not in love with them, right? It was very much that physical release. It was about...
Never once?
What?
In love with any of them?
No. Maybe towards the end, one of the guys who hurt me, but when I look back on it, it was not love. It was a neediness. So no, never once in love. I've only had sex with two men that I love, and that's Jeremy and Amr, and that's it. But I'm not saying that sex outside of a relationship is bad. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that we need to understand, why am I here with this guy? Why am I sleeping with him? What do I want from him? And also, I need to be safe, but I need to protect myself physically, emotionally, mentally, because sex can be fun, but it can, in the wrong circumstances, be very traumatic. So how do I protect myself? How do I also communicate what I want? Because men and women don't talk. They don't talk about sex. Tell me, did you talk with your ex?
I did. Well, he was a gynecologist.
Completely different.
I don't think it applies.
Okay, but you talked about it.
We did,
Was it useful?
It was.
Great.
It was.
Okay, so...
I can't say a lot about him.
Okay, no, fair enough.
But I'll talk about it later in the show. and mix it up with something else
Okay.
so that I don't have to talk
Yeah,
about
no,
him.
that's fair enough. But actually, that's because he comes from it to it from a place of being informed.
Yeah.
And he sees the female body very differently, and he's not embarrassed.
Yes, though what I've then seen is that there's a lot of myth surrounding sex that men have. So many of them can approach you, especially if he's an expert, like a sexologist or a gynecologist, someone that believes they know what you want.
Yeah.
It'll be hard to convince them that I don't want that. I don't like that. Can you stop now? Can you try this other thing?
Yeah.
So
That's so true. They think they know it all.
Yeah, so many men will have had the myth that like the neck is a super organ.
Yeah. Yeah, it's apparently very sensitive.
Yeah,
so.
but my neck is ticklish and I don't like the sensation
Yeah.
of. But then if someone kisses me on my neck and I jerk, they think I'm aroused.
Oh, okay.
But I actually just want you to stop. I don't like it.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? We talk, we have to communicate. We need to tell each other.
Yeah.
Stop, I don't like that. Or, yeah, that's great. More of that.
Yeah.
We're not told, like women especially, they're so scared to speak.
Yeah.
Because they don't know women, you're absolutely allowed to talk in bed. Say what you need to say.
Yeah.
But again, so even my friends, right? I'll have a conversation. In the UK, it was very different. I think we were much more open. It's much less patriarchal and much more, women are much more open are empowered.
Yeah.
Here, I think it's changing, but it's changing very slowly. And I was having a conversation with a friend recently, and I was just saying, yeah, we had sex last night. It was really loud because we wanted to annoy our neighbors. And there's a whole story behind that. And she just went,
whoa.
oh, well, I just came for coffee.
Yeah. Also, first of all, you're telling me about your sex life.
Yeah.
Second of all, why did you do that?
Yeah, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Exactly. How could you be loud? There are children upstairs. I'm like, hey. So she was like horrified. But I'm like, you're my friend. If I can't talk to you about this, and we can't, and it's a bit jokey as well. It's not like I'm serious. I'm not going. But also, if I have a problem with my partner and I'm not able to speak to him, I don't want to see a gynecologist. I want to be able to talk to you about it. Why are we having this problem talking about it? And the reason is women get embarrassed because they've not been told it's okay to talk about sex.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I want every woman to... I would love to do like a sex and intimacy workshop where we actually are able to share what we're feeling, how we're feeling, and ask questions. Yeah. Is this okay? Is that okay? No, it's not okay. Yes, it's okay.
Yeah.
That would be my dream in Nairobi. Huh. No men allowed.
That's going to be good. Please call us. We're coming. We're right behind you.
I would love it.
You're allowed to pass on this question because I think it's very, very personal. And,
Sure.
Have you ever had an STI? Did you ever contract an STI from someone?
No, I didn't. Mm-hmm. But there was a reason for that. Mm-hmm. I had 4 rules. Gosh, you might want to edit this.
No, if you don't want us to.
No, I'm fine. But
okay.
So I had 4 rules basically because I know what men are like in the UK. So no sex without a condom. Mm-hmm. You don't want to wear a condom, you're not having sex. I tell every woman, please do that. Carry them with you. So there's no excuse. Yeah. Hey, I don't have one. Yes, I do. Yeah. Right? 2, no photographs. Absolutely no photographs. Mm-hmm. You don't know where they're going to end. Mm-hmm. 3, no filming. No filming. And 4 for me was like no anal sex. Mm. That is not acceptable. Those were my rules. If you don't like them, Shariako, go. Find somebody who can. So that's why I never had an STD because I made sure that I always had protected sex. And I didn't want to get pregnant either.
Oh. I really love your resolve. A lot of us don't have such resolve. So we will go, even with the condoms, and the guy will just convince you not to put them on.
Girls, don't do it. Don't do it. You don't want, unless you want his baby, which, fine. But if you don't want his baby, don't do it. And you don't want his little, like, doo-doos. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Why? What's the reason?
It's sliding off, I guess.
that's your problem. That's too bad. Get a smaller one. Condoms come in sizes, guys. Look, my body, my choice. You don't like it, too bad. And I want every woman to understand this. My body, how I live.
That's true.
My body, if I want to give birth. My body, if I want to have sex. My body, how I dress. Right? You don't tell me how to dress. My body, how I eat. Why do you, as a man, have all these rights? Why do I, as a woman, not have these rights?
Yeah.
And I am unapologetic about it because there is only one Shalini on this earth that's me like this. I absolutely have the right to live my life as long as I'm not hurting anyone. I want to live it my way.
Yeah.
You as my father or my husband or my brother or my son are not allowed to, and even my mother, my sister, nobody is allowed to tell me how to live my life and what to do with my body. So when I say no, when it comes to something like condoms, sex, whatever, I mean no.
Yeah. We are now winding up, and you had talked about techniques to creating your own happiness. Can you tease for us a little?
Yes. So in this book, Happiness, Is It Simply a Mindset Shift? I came up with some techniques. So I'll just tell you a few of them. They dealt with mind, body, and spirit. So mind was very much about mindfulness and meditation. Body was, there are a few things you definitely need to do. You need to eat well. You need to exercise, and you need to sleep well. We do not get enough sleep, okay? And women especially, we like up with the kids, and then we're the last to sleep, and we do everything around the house before sleep. So sleep. Eating is really important. What are we eating? How much are we drinking? Definitely no smoking. So those were the techniques. And then there are certain techniques that are really important, like gratitude. Doing a gratitude journal every day. Practicing compassion to other people and to yourself. Self-care and self-compassion, really important. And also altruism. So, for example, the Jeremy Lucas Education Fund is a way of me giving back, really important. And then also things like for your own growth is keep learning. There's a lot to learn out there. So if you're on a course or in going for workshops or reading, really important. And I think the last one that I want to talk about is about showing up and standing in your power and speaking your truth. For me, that's how I live my life. So one of the things I would say is even though I knew what I wanted, a lot of women will go for, I want him to be rich, I want him to be handsome, I want him to drive this car, I want him to be, but that's all great.
Yeah.
And it was part of it.
What you trying to say?
We're going wrong. He needs to be kind. He needs to be clever. He needs to be funny.
Why?
Okay, funny. But more than anything, he needs to treat me well. And when I look at both Jeremy and Amar, the first thing on my list was kindness. They are super kind guys. Jeremy was very clever, as is Amar, very intelligent, both very funny. They make me laugh.
That's good.
And they both put me first in their lives.
Wow.
That is the most important thing, because I put them first, right?
Yeah.
We put our relationship first above all. That's why it works. And I know I'll get a lot of stick for this because people like, you need to put your children first and your parents first. And No. Even the Bible says you put your wife before all else. You need to put your relationship above all else.
Yeah.
You need to have each other's back. And if you have each other's back, your relationship will work.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for your time and your beautiful energy. Tell us where people can find your books.
So my books at the moment are at Textbook Center and Surrey Center here in Nairobi. But otherwise, you can get them all over the world from Amazon. So all the Amazons carry them.
Are you able to ship hard copies?
Yeah, just from Amazon if you wanted to get hard copies. But they're all on Kindle as well. So you can definitely get them. But like I say, here in Nairobi, just the Textbook Center. I tend not to do the shipping. It's like too much of a hassle. So, yeah. Yeah, but if people want to just reach out, they can reach out to me through social media at JustJoom, JustJoom. So yeah,
that's Instagram.
So it's Instagram, Facebook, X, Threads, but I have to say I hardly look at anything except Instagram. Instagram, I'll be on that every day.
Okay,
so
great.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, and thank you all for watching. Let me know what your take home is from this show, or what your favorite thing that Shalini has said is. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Please like, please share this episode to all your friends. Let your friends know how they can be healed, even how they can have vibrant relationships. If you want to find me or make inquiries about my music or my work, you can find me on Lillian Githui on all platforms. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.